Stories are usually told with words, whether they are spoken out loud or written down. But what if a story is so familiar to many that it doesn't need words to be told? That same story is also one of heartbreak, of dealing with life's cards you've been dealt. This is the story of Gris. Since Gris doesn't use words to tell its story, it's somewhat open for interpretation. This is how I interpreted the story. When you play this game, you might end up with a slightly different story altogether. The game starts off with a cutscene where we see a small girl being held by a stone hand. She looks fragile and broken. As she gets up, she starts singing a song that is filled with longing. Suddenly, the world around her starts to crumble and falls apart. She tries to keep standing, but even the hand she has relied on crumbles to pieces. She falls for an unknown amount of time, only to end up in a blank, white void. She has to get up, no matter how difficult it is, or how black and white her world just has become. As we start walking, the world around us starts evolving. The fog that is surrounding us starts to dissolve, revealing hills transforming into mountains. Black rock breaks through the landscape, following by dead trees. As we learn to run and jump, signs of civilizations pop up, and stars start falling around us. At some point, we have to face our past, and the one whose hand crumbles beneath our feet. Once we dare to conquer our fears, the world starts evolving even further. Colors come back slowly, as well as new flora and fauna. The colors range from reds to blues and greens. The world is painted in watercolors, and it's absolutely stunning. Each set of colors help to set the mood for each of the realms you pass through. Red guides you through the desert, while green trees make up a dense forest. Blue waterfalls are accompanied by caves of ice, while all colors combined takes us into the skies. As we discover each of the realms and solve each one's mysteries, music surrounds us. I can only say that each piece of music fits the area perfectly. When you are exploring a new area, the music is tranquil and somewhat minimalistic. Those pieces are often piano pieces, sometimes accompanied by a violin or another string instrument. In suspenseful moments, the music seems to hold its breath with you, before bursting into a crescendo. It does an excellent job creating feelings of yearning, of adventure. It gives you the feeling that you're the one running around, instead of the girl on the screen. The feeling of the wind sweeping through your hair, instead of it moves just the leaves on the screen. Each color has its own feeling, not just visually, but also audibly. As the rain pours down in the blue realm, you hear the music weeping with it. Walking through the dark caves gives you a sense of eeriness, because the music doesn't seem to come from just anywhere, but it also feels like the creatures and crystals seem to be the one creating the symphony, as if the drops falling from the ceiling are part of the melody. I can't really compare the music of Gris to any other game I've played before. It's unique and absolutely breathtaking. The one part where Gris falls short is accessibility. I didn't have any problems playing Gris, but then again, I don't have any disabilities or vision impairment that cannot be solved by a pair of glasses. Gris is a game that heavily relies on sight, as the whole game gives you visual clues as where to go. If you're colorblind, it might take away from the beauty of the game, but I don't think it's unplayable. There are no choices that have to be made that rely on you choosing the right colored path, for example. What can happen is that certain important elements blend into the background. At some point in time, you get the ability to jump higher with the use of red butterflies. You can find these either flying around in a fixed spot, or they appear as you break one of the many vases in the ruins. They are bright red against a dark purple or bluish green background. Since the background is often static, while the butterflies keep moving around, I imagine that you still will be able to differentiate between them. However, it's a lot harder in some of the realms compared to others. Unfortunately, there is no colorblind mode in Gris, although I can forgive the game for it. As I said before, neither the story nor the mechanics rely on color cues. There's no timer, so you can try sections as often as you need. Since Gris is as much a game as well as a display of art and music, I can imagine that there was somewhat a conscious choice not to put in a colorblind mode, since that would have taken away from the art itself. One place where I think Gris could have improved on accessibility is the scale of things. Personally, I played this game on PC and a 27-inch monitor. The girl, the butterflies, or any objects were ever too small for me. However, Gris can also be played on a Nintendo Switch or even an Android device. I can imagine that, even for someone with perfect vision, elements on Gris can be hard to see on screens that are not even 7-inch in diameter. The game zooms in on the girl if she's the main focus of a section. However, in a section where you have to solve a puzzle that spans multiple stories of a rune, or a big windmill, the game zooms out. On bigger screens, you are still able to see everything fine, and following your character around isn't that difficult. On a smaller screen though, this can become difficult and make the section virtually unplayable. It would have been nice to see a setting where the girl would always be the center of the screen with a fixed size. Yes, navigating certain puzzles would have been harder. On the other hand, it would make them playable, whereas now some are unplayable on a smaller screen. Gris is a story unlike any other, mostly because the story is presented in a way not many stories are. Besides a general tutorial of how you can move the girl around, no words are spoken or written. If you like a game where it's up to you how you interpret the story, you will like Gris. The story is relatively short, only around 4 hours of playtime. Just one free afternoon or evening and you will be able to completely finish Gris. I would recommend Gris to anyone, but especially for those who can appreciate a game where the art and music is just as impressive, maybe even more impressive than the story. If you have a visual impairment, I would advise you to first have a look at some of the gameplay of Gris before you buy it. It is a beautiful game, but it would be a shame if you are unable to play it properly because of the way the game uses camera perspective. Gris can be played on PC, Nintendo Switch, Android and PlayStation 4 and costs around €20. Please let me know in the comment section what you think of Gris and whether it's a game you consider buying and playing.